Hello and welcome to the special pilot episode of a new podcast called Shift Talk. I wanted to call it Shit Talk because that's what I like to do, but the censors said no.
Boo.
So I'm Macca and joining me is...
I'm Smithy.
Welcome to us. So basically what we're doing here is we like to talk a bit of shit here and there. Not always.
A lot.
We like to go on tangents and waffle on. And some of you will know me from my other podcast. We had a Pride, which is a footy pod. And sometimes we have old mate over here next to me on.
Yeah, a bit of a nuffy there. So
You might know my voice and my weird accent that I've allegedly got. And I blame Western Australia where I grew up for that. Currently living.
We'll try not to.
Well, I'm currently living in Victoria, so does that mean that I'm biased towards people in the West? Probably. So anyway, we just decided we'd have a bit of a chat, see what happens, see if anyone listens. And if people listen, we'll keep coming back.
Pretty much.
So I'm going to launch into... I've got to use my trusty iPhone here, which is what I think is flashing in front of me. You can't see it.
Definitely what's flashing in front of you.
Because that's the only time it started flashing. So I've got some news and then we'll see what happens. So, a pub in Meredith in Victoria has allegedly outdone themselves with a 1.2 kilogram tomahawk steak sandwich at their bistro. Perfect for hipsters looking for things to photograph for their Instagram account. A 35,000-year-old coffin was discovered in Egypt with a carving of a Marge Simpson-like figure. Could it be that ancient aliens ironically predicted the future of television MILFs and The Simpsons, who, as we know, like to predict things themselves? A jilted doctor in, I don't know how to say this, but I'm going to have a crack, Bihar, in East India, hacked off her boyfriend's penis on Monday in a grim act of revenge after he failed to turn up to their wedding day. Claiming she had been in a relationship with the man over the past 5 years, the accused girlfriend said she was left seething with rage when he refused to marry her multiple times. Finally, she managed to convince her lover to agree to a registered court marriage. And when he didn't turn up, she went all Lorena Bobbitt on him. Unfunny breakfast radio host Marty Sheargold has stunned his 14 listeners by announcing he's hanging up his headphones and leaving his role at Triple M, and not a moment too soon, I say. Although I didn't mind him in whatever role it was he played in the show called Fisk, which is on, I think, Netflix, with Kitty Flanagan, who I reckon is hot. No hate, no judgment here. And my final bit of news is following last year's launch of Doritos Coriander. What the fuck?
Ew.
Doritos is introducing another new flavor, Doritos Coffee. So the question is, would you try it? Send us a DM or slide into our comments and let us know. What have you got for us? You got anything interesting?
Well, I'm not nearly as interesting as some of those, but
there's a lot to unpack there, isn't there?
There is a lot. I can't get past the Indian story. I will try and keep it together, guys. But what you didn't see, or what you couldn't see, because you can only hear us, was I was losing the plot laughing as Ash was reading that out. Tuesday this week was World UFO Day, so the World Unidentified Flying Object Day.
Do they still call them that? Because I've heard they call them something else these days.
Oh, heaven forbid. There's probably some political correctness reason for not calling them that, but still UFOs as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm sticking with it too.
So a former US Air Force intelligence officer told Congress last summer about a government program that retrieves and reverse engineers unidentified flying objects. And it was also noted that NASA now has a director of research for unidentified flying objects, or what it calls unidentified anomalous phenomena.
That's the one, US. See, they do have a new name, which is even cooler than the other one.
In other US news, there was a presidential debate last week between Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. And our favourite meme, which I'm not sure whether it will become a thing, but maybe Ash will flash it up on the screen for it, is that in a cartoon of them, we had Biden on his deathbed in the hospital and Trump in his prison gear. So our current running theme is for the next most powerful man in the world, we've got someone who's on their deathbed or someone who's about to head to prison. So good luck, America.
That's probably the most American thing that could happen.
Most American thing.
All it needs is some guns, some fireworks.
Honestly, you can't script it. Like, people wouldn't believe this if this was a movie script.
One of my funniest Trumpisms was years ago. He did an interview, and they were asking him about his daughter. I don't know which one I don't even know how many he's got, but one of them in particular. I can't remember the question, but that's irrelevant because the answer was, and I'm paraphrasing, that my daughter's pretty hot. Even I would date her.
Oh, that was Ivanka.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, that was like 2 weeks after he was put in as. Oh, it was. Oh.
I mean, come on.
I can't even. That's just nope. That's a hard nope for me.
I watched that show he did, that TV show. What was it, Celebrity Apprentice or whatever?
The Apprentice.
The Apprentice, yeah.
You're fired.
Shows how much TV I watch. I watched one episode and I'll never get that time back. It was terrible. I'm sure we'll have a little bit more about reality TV shows a bit later.
Admittedly, still better than the Australian version. That was terrible.
Well, I'll take your word for it because I never watched it.
Both of them were terrible, but the Australian, yep, no. We just don't have the kind of pulling power here that they have in the US, so it was just...
Well, I mean, do we even have celebrities in this country? I mean...
Not well, some, but not really.
I saw an ad for Dancing with the Stars and they had Nadia Bartel listed as a celebrity. And the only thing she's actually famous for, aside from
someone's missus.
Yeah, aside from being married to a footballer that people outside of Victoria probably haven't heard of, is that she snorted some cocaine off her Kmart plate at a party at her house once. I mean, that's what we know her for. I mean, she lives in my town too, which kind of
awkward.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to see her shopping down at Coles or my local Kmart. But yeah, I wonder which Kmart she bought the plate from. Well, apparently it only cost $5, which for someone.
Well, I mean, if you're snorting something like that off it, probably can't afford more for the plate.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never bought cocaine, so I don't know how cheap it is. But yeah,
either.
Maybe I'll send her a DM on Instagram and
just ask her.
Ask her who her dealer is and how much it costs for research purposes, of course. So I'm going to wrap up some sport from this week, starting with the AFL. And the first game in a round, Brisbane came from outer space to defeat Melbourne by 5 points.
We only lost the second quarter.
Despite actually leading for 40% of the game. The Bulldogs beat last place North Melbourne by not much and went straight into premiership favouritism. Sydney fell to the Dockers, who will never be flagged favourites because we all know they'll never win one anyway. Gold Coast defeated Nick Dacos, but luckily the poor Nepo baby has a famous dad, so he'll be fine. Adelaide surprised the Giants in a game I didn't watch, and neither did anyone else. Essendon were robbed by the umpires, the AFL and Channel 7, who all had an agenda, allegedly. Ken Hinkley cried true tears of joy, and we think his team won, but the game was so boring that we all fell asleep and forgot it even happened. Carlton beat 17th place Richmond's under 12s because all of their senior players were injured, And they were immediately awarded the premiership. So that's it for the season. All hail Carlton. Wait, what? There was another game? Oh, yeah. The Eagles forgot to show up.
Oh, yeah.
And Hawthorn played against some randoms from the crowd, we think, because we didn't watch that one either. In the NRL, the Broncos broke up with their fans. The Sharks lost as they should every week, in my opinion. Parramatta fans asked, what's the matter? Storm drank all the milk and wondered if Canberra had any left for themselves. The Riff got pumped at home, and the Chooks only won by 34 points against West Balmain Tigers. I think that's what they're called. They're shit, so no one cares. In cricket, we told Johnny Bairstow to keep on walking a year later to the day of his infamous dismissal, and there were no games played anywhere. Anyone who says India won something is lying. There is nothing to see here. Okay. And there were some other sports played. Nobody watches them, so too bad for the players.
I shouldn't laugh at that, but God, that's funny.
Oh, don't tell anyone that I was funny, because that's not true. All right, so you're going to let us know what happened on this day in history.
Okay, so on this day, I've got a couple of things. One is on this day, something that happened on the 5th of July at some point in history. And then a bit of a who am I? And I'm going to make that a bit of a guessing game for you,
Is
Ash.
is it the 5th of July today, is it?
Pausing for a second. You said Friday fuckwits, so I'm going for the 5th of July for a Friday. That matches.
We're recording Thursday, but we're releasing on Friday.
So it's going to be Friday because, you know,
before you launch
for the future.
Before you launch into that, so I woke up this morning, looked at my watch, a smartwatch, which ironically is not very smart, because overnight the date changed to the 1st of January 2020.
What?
And
default settings?
It currently says it's 9:30 a.m. And let me just have a look at my trusty iPhone, and it says it's 6:50 p.m.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like daytime outside.
So, Kogan, I know your smartwatches are cheap, but they're also shit. Anyway, on this day, the 5th of July.
On this day, on the magical Friday in the future. So, in 1996, gosh, I'm showing my age. That was a while ago. I can still remember that. The world's first live cloned mammal was born, better known as Dolly the sheep.
Good old Dolly the sheep.
On this day, was born.
New Zealanders were rejoicing that day. Let me give you the tip.
I thought you'd enjoy that. And the clone lived until just shy of her 7th birthday, so not as long as a normal sheep, but still a pretty good innings for a clone.
Well, considering one sheep year is 7 human years, that's a 49-year-old middle-aged woman, and that's actually my age right now as we speak. And
exactly.
Hey, actually, what do you call a Kiwi with a lot of girlfriends? A shepherd. I apologise to all my Kiwi cousins down in Christchurch.
Oh, that's so.
And also in Dunedin, there's a couple down there, and Blenheim. I don't really think you're all sheep rooters. I know you are.
I love that.
Probably not getting any Christmas cards from the other side of the ditch this year, let me tell you.
No, probably not, but a little bit funny. Sorry, guys. You guys are piling just as much on us in return, so it's all good.
Yes.
It's all in the name of love and sportsmanship and friendliness, right?
That's true.
That's why we told Johnny Bairstow to keep walking.
Yeah. Have you seen that there's actually a T-shirt you can get now? It looks like the Jack Daniels logo.
I love it.
Yeah.
I really want to get one.
Costs £17.99. What that equates to in our dollars is probably $742.
It's not so much that, it's the shipping costs to get it over here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So what else happened on this day in history?
So I only had the one for on this day because I was only going to do sort of one and one, but I can grab a couple more. There were some very funny ones. So give me a second.
Well, they're the ones we want.
Oh God.
Let's just take an intermission, ladies and gentlemen, while we wait.
It'll take me 2 seconds because had the list up on my phone. Okay. So in 1973, there was a coup in Rwanda.
I remember that well.
Yep. They overthrew the president. And he'd held the presidency for 20 years. So he got disposed on this day.
That's probably a record for Rwanda for anyone to be alive for that long, considering they love a coup over there.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, moving right along.
Couple of places declared independence on this day in various points in history. So in 1811, Venezuela declared independence from Spain.
Where is Venezuela? Could you point to it on a map?
Nope. I can tell you that the price of anything there is ridiculously expensive, though. So
it's in Central America. That's all I know.
Yep. And Cape Verde, which is this tiny little island country, gained independence from Portugal in 1975. So everyone's saying that the Brits were the only colonizers. Cape Verde only got their independence in the late 70s or the mid 70s. So,
well, we know the original colonizers were the original Kon-Tiki tourists, the Vikings.
Yes.
My ancestors.
Very accurate.
Yes, they loved going on their Sunday rowing missions to England and coming back with a few slaves, a few new wives, and a lot of gold.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, never hurts.
Yeah.
Pillage and plunder.
Yeah, well, my Viking ancestors went and lived eventually in the most northern part of the British Isles that you can get to, and decided to call that little parcel of the north Southland.
Oh, wow.
And people wonder why I'm not very funny. That's where I get it from.
I shouldn't say that. That's terrible. A little bit funny.
Not really.
And then probably the only other one that's of any sort of note was Armenia adopted their constitution on this day in 95. So only, 19 years ago?
Did you say Armenia?
Armenia, yep.
Yeah, there you go. They've
used to be part of the Soviet Union.
It also used to be part of the Ottoman Empire and part of the Holy Roman Empire at one stage.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. So 95. So that's 29 years ago? 29 years ago today.
Wow.
So they're only a little baby country.
I was 20 years old.
I was a lot younger.
Oh, wow.
So yes.
There you go.
On this day in history, guys.
Well, the important thing is you're not a lot younger now.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
Ah, well. Some might say you're still cute, but that's your parents, so they have to say that.
Pretty much. So.
Oh, they don't say that about me, the bastards.
I don't think they've ever met you, so that'd be a bit weird.
Oh, it's all about my parents.
Oh, okay, different story then. That's fine. I was like, yeah, that'd be a bit odd, and a couple of states away to do that. So,
yeah, all right. Well,
and then I've got a who am I? So I'm going to make you do this every week.
All
I'm
right.
going to pick someone that was born on this day.
Okay,
so
Tony
on the
Barber.
5th of July.
Well, hang on. You don't know who Tony Barber is, do you?
Nah.
Do you know Glenn Ridge? Glenn Ridge?
Yeah, I know Glenn Ridge.
Yeah, Glenn Ridge stole Tony Barber's job on Star of the Century.
Oh, yeah, no, I do know him.
You're just saying that.
No, it was such a thing because it was also the same when it was God, I can't even remember her name, but one of the blondes got replaced by another blonde, and it was this huge thing, and it was all talking about the same thing happening to Tony Barber.
Well, Delvine Delaney was around when I was a kid, and then maybe Elise Platt, but that's well before you were even born. So.
Well before. Yeah, I'm going to have a flashback and try and remember who it was, but it's not happening on this podcast because I'm terrible with names.
It was Lavinia Nixon, wasn't it?
Yes, that's exactly who it was.
She's still kicking on Channel 9, actually.
She is, but it was such a hoopla. I think
she tells us that the Bureau of Meteorology can't get their shit together every night, and it's going to be 4 degrees when it turns out to be 24. So
Pretty accurate.
not her
Or we get
fault.
told it's going to rain or not rain, and then I put washing out, and then it rains, and I'm like, it was meant to be sunny today. What the hell's going on?
You live in Queensland. It rains every day.
It really doesn't. Like, it's weird. We go through patches, and then we have like nothing, and then we go through patches, and then we have nothing.
You know, I lived in Darwin a long time ago, and every day at 8:15 a.m. until 8:35 a.m. when I was walking to school, it pissed down with
Yeah.
rain.
And then sunny the rest of the day.
And from 3:12 in the afternoon until 3:37 in the afternoon, when I was walking home from school, it also pissed down with rain.
But then sunny.
Yeah, and it was. I wouldn't say sunny because that time of year it was pretty overcast most of the time.
Mm,
So
Brash.
don't-
Okay.
I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I just wanted to have a whinge about something that happened in like 1988. So
Feel free to whinge about things from before I was born.
fuck you, Mother Nature. You're a mole.
Okay, so who am I? I'm going to give you 3 sets of clues. I've decided I'm going to make this a points game. So we'll rack up. I don't know what the points are going to go to, but we'll rack up the
Yeah, I
points.
was about to ask what's my reward if I get it right.
I don't know. We'll work something out. But I'll give you some clues. If you get it in the first lot, you get 3 points. You get it in the second lot, you get 2 points. And then the final clue should pretty much give it away.
All right.
You get 1 point. Okay?
You got
So-
you got a countdown clock?
No, I'll just read them out, and that's way too formal for this sort of thing.
Nah, I'm going to stitch one in when I finish editing.
I love it. Well, you do you. So I was born on the 5th of July, 1810 in Bridgeport, Connecticut in America. So he's an American.
Well,
I'm betting,
I was there on the day that he was born, so I already know who it is.
are you?
I was in fact his pediatrician. The pediatrician? No, they don't even do that. I'm skipping ahead a few years. Anyway, keep going on.
I'm better known by my first initials and surname than my actual name. At one stage, I was both a politician and an author, but these are not what I'm famous for. I'm a showman, and I'm the one who introduced Tom Thumb to the world and Jenny Lind to America. Any guesses?
No. C.W. McCall. No, he's a country singer from the 60s. Was the 1960s? It wasn't him.
Way, way too long after. Okay, next set of clues. I created and toured what was then called the greatest show on earth.
Oh,
That
It's on
should be a pretty good clue there.
it's on the tip of my tongue.
I was one of the people that came up with the system that allowed the circus to travel by train. And my circus was the first to travel by our own circus-owned train, which was only decommissioned about 30 years ago.
Mm.
Any ideas?
Oh, I literally, I can't. I kind of know. I know the name, but the initials. I'm like, what are his bloody initials?
One final hint.
Mm.
I've had multiple movies made about my life, which have won Grammys, Oscars, and Golden Globes between them. Hugh Jackman played me in the most recent Hollywood blockbuster, and it was a blockbuster. made about
Wolverine
my life.
himself.
Wolverine himself.
You know, I've never watched any of those Wolverine movies.
Really?
No interest.
Not one.
Not even one letter.
Well, this
No
isn't Wolverine.
No regrets. And just so you know, I'm holding up my phone with my notes. You can't even see it because
No.
I'm not googling it. Does it rhyme with John Farnham?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go with P.T. Barnum.
Correct.
There you go.
Yay.
I thought
So
you
he
ever-
was born on this day over 200 years ago.
I've only ever been to one circus, and
Mhm.
I fucking hate clowns. Let me give you the tip.
Yep.
I grew up in the era when there were too many clowns in horror movies that murdered people, and they scared the shiz out of me.
Oh, the zero problem keeps clowns far, far away.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you there. But it was really cool researching his life for this little segment. I never realized that he was the one that was associated with Tom Thumb. So that was
I
pretty cool.
did not know that either. That
Yep.
was definitely not a clue I would have gotten.
Yep.
There you go. All right. So you have to come up with a prize. And
I'll have to think something through.
yeah. Oh, well, you're going to see me in person in a couple of days. So
We'll work something out.
maybe a handshake or a high five or something.
One high five per point you get.
Yeah. Well, we have a new segment. Wait, every segment is new because this is new, and it's called Conspiracy of the Week.
Oh.
What have you got for us?
So mine, I'm not really a conspiracy theorist. So forgive me, mine's probably not going to be super exciting every week.
Nobody is until they are.
But I thought this was hilarious. So I was trying to like Google like some things about, you know, what's happening in the world that people are like going, oh, over. And obviously earlier this year there was all that drama over Catherine Middleton and how
yeah,
she was dead because they hadn't seen her because the palace put out a statement saying she's not going to be around until after Easter, and it was sort of mid-March, and everyone's like, we haven't seen her, and anyone with half a brain was like, well, it's not after Easter yet, calm down. And then it came out that she's actually battling cancer. So she went in for surgery. There was a period of recovery for what I believe she went in for surgery for was a pretty reasonable recovery time frame for that sort of surgery. So not unexpected. And then during that, they discovered that she had cancer and she started chemo treatment for that. So there's been all these conspiracy theories about. Now, last week or the week before was the Trooping of the Colour, which is the official celebration of the King or Queen's birthday every year. It's always around the exact same time because it's actually based on George V's birthday, one of the past George's birthdays. So it's not actually the monarch's birthday itself. But the conspiracy theory that I thought that was really funny that came out of that was because it was her first official appearance since all of this happened. So she's obviously done the video announcement that she had cancer. There's been a couple of sightings of her in public, but not really in private things. But this is her first official royal engagement since the surgery in January. And the conspiracy theory was that it wasn't actually Kate Middleton at the recent Trooping of the Colour. It was a body double. You want to know how all these conspiracy theorists thought that, you know, they worked out it wasn't Kate Middleton?
Oh, do tell.
It's her teeth.
Really?
Apparently, they are too much like a Hollywood smile in photos. And in the past, her teeth haven't been perfect.
I thought they might have examined her dental records like they do when they find a body. Because no, okay.
But you know the funnier part of this. So as I was on this deep dive to try and find something that was a little bit amusing, some conspiracy theorists have taken it even further than that, and it's not that it was just a body double. Some people genuinely think that she's being replaced by a reptilian body double. And that's how the teeth are so perfect.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, when you think about it, it's not the first time this has happened.
It was just, I was reading it and I'm like, do people have two brain cells to rub together sometimes? But man, that was just going onto the Reddit threads where there were people genuinely debating over what reptile. And I was like, holy crap, I've got into a hole here that I never needed to go into ever in my life.
This is where it all begins. Once you get onto Reddit, you can never escape.
Oh my God, I regret all my life choices, and that's half an hour of my life I will never get back.
Half an hour on Reddit doesn't really get you a lot, though. Let's face it. I mean, there's a lot. There's a There's a hell of a lot happening on Reddit that, I mean, if you want to know something, that's where you go to get the real truth. Let's face it. Anything else is lies. If it was anywhere, well, if it was on Facebook, it's true because
Oh,
Facebook. But,
no. My Bible of truth is Big Footy.
well, if you want to know a true AFL football story, Big Footy is the place to go. Just ask old mate Sam McClure, who has
Even keep
the
my face straight.
shittest
Sorry.
fucking haircut I have ever seen in my life. And this is coming from a bald man who can't even really grow much hair. I still have a better haircut than Sam McClure.
Not hard.
Um,
But yeah, so there's my conspiracy theory of the week.
well, I've got something to add to that because do you remember there was a photo of her and her kids probably around Christmas time, maybe?
Oh, the Mother's Day one where it was photoshopped.
Mother's Day, that's the one. And they reckon it was, there was this and that. And they're trying to say that one of the kids had an arm in the wrong place and it didn't
Yeah, it's like
line
the
up.
arm's looking like that, and then the hand like is sort of sitting there where the sleeve's sitting there, and it is genuinely photoshopped. Like I've seen it, but
Oh, all of those
it's
things
not.
are.
Every single photo that goes into a magazine is photoshopped. So
Well,
I know.
having previously worked in magazines, being an editor, albeit of a car magazine, or two or three, and having worked in the magazine industry, I can tell you, Photoshop is life. It's like oxygen. So yeah, I had no issue with that. But
Not get over
yeah,
that.
I'm pretty sure that they photoshopped her head onto Lady Di's body for that photo.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of like that she's not actually alive, and that even that like all of this has just been some big elaborate hoax. And I'm like, crying out loud, the woman's going through hell on earth with cancer treatment. Just leave her alone. Leave her alone.
Haven't the royal family been copping some shit lately though? Obviously, Catherine Middleton. What do they still call her by her maiden name? Shouldn't she be Catherine Wales?
Well, no, she should be Catherine, Princess of Wales. Like that's her official
No,
title. It's not
yeah,
Princess Catherine, by the way.
no.
It's exactly like Di. Di was never Princess Di. She was Diana, Princess of Wales. Don't get me into technicality.
Yeah, but
We all refer to her as Princess Di.
so Bill, her husband,
Yeah.
he's officially known as like on his official
William, Prince of Wales.
No, on his license or whatever, it just says William Wales as his name.
It was William Wales whilst his father was Prince of Wales, because the Wales came from Charles's title. So it's like when the kids were, so George, Charlotte, and Louis were enrolled at school, they all were enrolled as George Cambridge, Charlotte Cambridge. But now they're enrolled as George Wales because Wales is the surname. So it's the same. William and Harry went through all of their military training as Wales, and like Beatrice and Eugenie, oh shit, probably just said her name wrong.
No, Eugenie's right. That was
they were York before they were married because their father was the Duke of York.
You know what you've done?
What?
You've let facts get in the way of a good story.
You know me and facts. I like my facts. I really like my facts, and I like pointing out when people are wrong.
Look, it's kind of hot, but you know.
But yeah, so a lot of it's been really weird because like even Sarah Ferguson, like they all for some reason were still called by their maiden names long after marriage, and Meghan Markle's the same, and
well, she's not part of the royal family anymore anyway because you know they wrote a letter to the Queen.
Very technically, they've still got their titles, but they're not working royals anymore. So
yeah, that's what it is. So anyway, long story short, back to what I was talking about before you
sidetracked us on a waffle tangent.
Before you dazzled me with facts and true things. I mean,
I told you I went into a deep dark hole on this conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, whatever you said his last name was these days, he's gone bald. Chuck's had cancer, I think, King Chuck.
Yeah, he's still got it. I think he's still going.
And he's married to Camilla, so I mean, commiserations, Chuck. And
imagine leaving Diana for Camilla.
Diana was
what a downgrade. Like, that's so mean. I shouldn't say that, but what a downgrade.
She was so sexy. I can say that. I was a teenager and in my early 20s when she was still alive, and god damn, she was the sexiest celebrity around at the time. Let's face it. And she found true love before the paparazzi murdered her. Oh, there's a conspiracy in itself.
Did she though? Because they'd only known each other for like a couple of months, not even. Like there's a whole thing around that.
That went over your head, but that's okay. But you know,
probably I was very young when that all happened. Remembering how old I am now.
You know, the bloke who's actually doing the best out of him at the moment is Harry. He's receiving a military award for the United States military, which he didn't even serve in.
How's he eligible for that? He's not a United States citizen.
It's named after a Vietnam War veteran, and the family of this particular veteran very, very upset.
Fair. They've got a heck of a lot more people in America that are veterans themselves that have fought for the American military that should be honoured long before. Not having a crack at Harry as a person, maybe I am, but like.
Hey, as a fellow redhead, you should be on Harry's side.
Mine is dyed.
Oh, well.
I'm a natural brunette, thanks.
I was born a redhead until I went and got bald and all that. Hey, speaking of conspiracies to do with the Royals, I still haven't even got into my conspiracies yet, but
it's a fun hole to go down with the Royals. There's just so many. Do
you reckon Chuck is really Harry's dad?
Because there's a photo of his dad, Philip, who in his like 20s, and God, Harry is the spitting image of him.
Yeah, fair enough.
The absolute spitting image.
Because that major, whatever his name was, that Diana was having the affair with, he was a redhead.
Yeah, but Philip was redhead too. The grandfather, the Queen's husband.
Yeah, I know.
Because, yeah.
I know, but my story is cooler than yours, so there you go. So my conspiracy is multiple conspiracies tied into one. Now, I could reel off every conspiracy this person has mentioned to me in the last 2 weeks. Have you ever seen that movie with Mel Gibson where he's the conspiracy theorist? I think it's called Conspiracy, actually. It's probably not. But
no, it might be a bit pre my time.
Whatever. But, I mean, you know, don't stop calling me old, all right?
I haven't watched a lot of Mel Gibson stuff. Okay, sorry.
Hey, some girls have a daddy fetish, so I'm yet to meet one. So, ladies, if you're looking, swipe right on Tinder if you see me. I'm not really on Tinder. I'm joking.
At least you said Tinder, not. I don't even know what the name is of the other one. Shows you how cross that I am.
A bloke at my work was telling me today, actually, or it might have been yesterday, that about eHarmony and how great it is. But then he said you got to pay to use it if you're a male, but not if you're a female. So there's a conspiracy in itself.
Girl power.
Yeah, so this fellow that I know, I won't mention his real name, but he's known now forever as Dick or Richard, because Dick's a bit insulting to this bloke who knows what's really going on in the world.
Okay.
So I've just cherry picked a couple of his favorite conspiracies. So the first thing, I bought a coffee at a Coles Express petrol station and used my Flybuys card to get the one Flybuys point that I get from a $3.50 coffee.
Yep.
And he reliably informed me that Flybuys, and if you're not an Aussie, you won't know what this is probably, but every Aussie knows what Flybuys are because the ads are fucking everywhere.
It's a loyalty program for those non-Aussies listening, if there are any.
Yeah, that's right. And you use it to get bonus points to get, catch a plane or have a little bit of extra spending money at Christmas or whatever, which is what I'm doing it for. So he reliably informed me that Flybuys is actually a government agent. They use the Flybuys to track your spending and to see where you go and what you do. So my morning coffee from the Shell petrol station, or Coles Express as they're known down here where I live,
Mhm.
is actually being monitored by the government right now.
Well, I mean, it's definitely being monitored by Flybuys, but I don't think the government's that across.
Oh no, the government. They know exactly how much. You know when you have those shakers where you shake the chocolate onto the top of your coffee, and they know exactly how many shakes I'm putting on there.
I mean,
And I can prove this because the day after he told me that the government were watching my spending with my Flybuys card, I went to get the chocolate shaker, and they turned the top of it around so that it only had the small holes over the top of the part where it comes out instead of the big holes. The government are restricting my
consumption of chocolate
powder.
powder.
Now, he also believes that traffic lights were invented by the petrol companies on the subject of service stations to make people use more petrol in their cars so that the petrol stations can then put their prices up and make you pay more taxes to make the governments richer.
Make the governments richer. Okay.
Yes. Now, we were
Interesting.
at another place and we saw a woman in high vis
Yep.
jump into a truck and drive off. So she's a female truck driver, which is cool. I'm all for that. Women are good drivers, aren't they?
Hey.
Anyway, so he has a theory that women are now being allowed to vote, speak, leave the kitchen, get jobs, and play sport because the government wants them to stop breeding to kill off our population and replace us with, would you believe it, lizards.
Oh, those reptilian conspiracy theorists strike again.
But he has one more. Well, firstly,
just before we do that, just interesting fact on traffic lights. So they were first created, it was like the mid 1860s. So it wasn't officially like the electronic ones, but the red and green was created to stop having to have a physical cop like stand there and direct traffic in the middle of London.
I mean, those what cars did they drive? Did they drive in London back then?
So it wasn't for cars, it was for horse and cart still back then, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
and it was
considering the first cars didn't come along for about another 50 years.
It was outside the Houses of Parliament.
See?
That's where they were controlling the traffic.
See? He's right. Traffic lights are a government conspiracy. But
see, I thought you'd appreciate that.
Now, aside from also believing that all women's sport is actually part of a lesbian mafia designed to eliminate men from the planet, he has one more, and this one will touch you right in the feels.
Oh, am I going to be annoyed by the end of this?
Now, Taylor Swift, T-Swizzy or whatever the fuck they call her, I don't know.
Leave Taylor alone.
As we know, people who know me know, I couldn't give a rat's ass about Taylor Swift's music.
And people who know me know I'm a diehard Swiftie. Who am I fighting today?
When she was allegedly a country singer, I did like one of her songs. So don't tell anyone. This won't go to air, and probably
which
will.
Song?
I don't know. One of the so-called country ones.
That's like her whole first 4 albums.
This was, mate, she was never a country singer.
She was a proper country singer, and then she moved into country pop.
No, she wasn't.
You're kidding me, right?
I mean, she wrote a song about, well, she didn't write it. She sang a song about Tim McGraw, who actually is a country singer. But anyway, so my mate, and he's not really my mate, Dick, he's a bloke I know, he's an acquaintance. He believes that Taylor Swift is not actually Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift is, in fact, Satan.
I take offense at that on her behalf.
He reliably informed me, and this is a guy who knows everything that's going on, as we've already discovered. He's on top of everything. That she's using her satanic lyrics in her songs to create more lesbians and man haters. See, look, everything ties in. It's making sense. And to make girls break up with their boyfriends and divorce their husbands. Not too many girls have got husbands, women to divorce their husbands.
And because of her music.
Spreading the word of Satan around the world. But it's not Satan, it's Taylor Swift who's one in the same.
Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, she did write Tim McGraw, so I'm going to defend her on that front. So,
hey, I'm a good fisherman, aren't I?
I did just do a very quick Google search to be like, I was like 99% sure, but I'm like, I'm just going to double check that before I go. Anyway, and number two, that's going to make me sound really sexist. No, I don't care. Men treated their women in their lives better. They wouldn't divorce them over something like a Taylor Swift song giving them empowerment to do something. Like, honestly, like, to think that, half her music is die-hard, lovey-dovey, oh my God, guys are the best things in the world. And the other half is she sings about, or she writes about what she's gone through. And she's gone through some pretty horrific breakups with some guys. Like, don't dump someone over a phone call if you don't expect them, and when they're a singer-songwriter, if you don't expect them to write a song about you. I mean, that's just 2 + 2 = 4 there. Like, honestly, I hope I never meet your friend Richard. I think would come to blows.
AKA Dick. Head.
AKA Dick, because he's a dick.
Speaking of dickheads.
Sorry, I will defend her. Like, honestly, what she's done and what she's achieved and the amount that she has done she's such a defender and such a believer in women, supporting women. And every chance that someone's had to pit her against other women, she's taken the higher road to be like, no, and then gone out of her way to support said woman. But then not only that, the sheer amount of money that she donates to people and charities and actually does something, and she doesn't make a song and dance about it. You don't see the announcement on her Twitter going, I donated $1 million to this cause today to win clout. Like, she just does it.
But does she use flybys?
Well, no, she's not Australian.
But she was recently here. Did she use flybys?
I was so annoyed. She played at the MCG. I am an MCC member and I could not get tickets. Do you know how ridiculous that is?
Well, I couldn't get tickets either. And let me tell you, I was trying to buy a ticket for my daughter.
It's the first song. So she's my age.
Mm-hmm.
It is the first time she has toured Australia that my sister and I have not gone to her concert. And we've gone from her very, 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 very first one. Every single time she's done it. And it was the first time we couldn't go. And I know people that went to every single one in Sydney and in Melbourne. And I'm like, you could have gone to one and given other people a chance to go. Oh.
So
you're going to get me up on a soapbox really soon about this topic. I'm so, oh.
So so AC/DC are a band that every tour they've done of Australia. Oh yeah, Akadaka. I mean,
I was watching a YouTube clip of them the other day, and it was an American watching them, and he's like, these guys are Australian? And I'm like, yes, listen to how they sing.
Whoa,
you could not get more Australian if you tried.
Technically, none of them really are, because none of them were born in Australia, but that's a whole other...
They were formed in Australia.
So this is, I don't know if it's a funny story or if this is just exposing boomers. So you said you've seen Taylor Swift every time except for this one when she's toured Australia. I've seen AC/DC every tour they've done since 1989 in Australia. I've been.
Yeah.
Where? Well, I was. I was in year 8 in high school. Anyway, I got to see AC/DC. I got to see
very cool
Bon Jovi. And I've seen AC/DC every time they've toured since then.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I was bragging about it to my uncle one day, and how good am I? Oh, got tour t-shirts somewhere. I've been to all their tours of Australia that they've done since then. And he goes, mate, let me tell you a story. When I was in year 10 in high school, we had a school dance. And he goes, it was the year you were born, funnily enough. Not that that's got anything to do with it. And AC/DC played at my school fucking dance, mate. So cop that.
That is cool.
He reckons
That
Bon,
is
he
really
reckons
cool.
Bon Scott whipped out the bagpipes as well for It's a Long Way to the Top. So that just completely ripped off all my clout that I've got. And I always thought my uncle was pretty boring, and the only thing he knew about was greyhounds and horses and cricket. Well, he got to see AC/DC at his high school. So,
That's pretty
yeah.
cool.
So that's a pretty exciting story, which
Very jealous.
about entertainment, which leads me into talking about it. So what are you watching at the moment? And I don't mean right now because you're looking at my big fat head. Aside
So
from now.
I have to preface this by saying I don't watch a hell of a lot of TV or movies.
That's it. You're dropped because I love movies.
No. I watch footy and cricket when it's on.
Mhm.
And if we win, I generally tend to watch replays of those a couple of times. But I read. I'm a massive reader, so I'm
Well,
going to pick reading over watching a movie any
you
day.
just went from having 3/4 of the population of the male population of Australia sliding into your DMs over watching footy and cricket to suddenly hitting unsend when they found out you read.
I just love to read. It's my
Hey.
Well, actually, no, that's a lie. Love watching footy. That's my relaxing space, even though it's not relaxing. I'm very, very passionate about it. But if I don't have football or cricket, or if we've lost that week, you can find me reading a good book over watching a movie. Anyway.
Mm.
There is one thing I'm watching at the moment. It's a TV series, and it's huge around the world, so everyone will be all across this. But House of the Dragon, which is the Game of Thrones prequel,
So
mostly because dragons are cool.
season 2's out now.
Season 2, episode 3 came out this week, so yeah, we're already halfway through. I think what they've got listed on Foxtel, at least. Not sure how many episodes are going to be in this season, but really interesting.
No
Good
spoilers.
fun. No spoil. Oh God, the whole thing is a spoiler because if you've watched Game of Thrones, you should know.
Well, I've watched the entirety of Game of Thrones, but
Have
I've only
you?
watched the first episode of what's it called? House of the Dragon?
House of the Dragon.
I've watched the first episode of season 1 and then I forgot that I had it.
You should watch it. It's actually really good. And I love that the actress who plays the young Rhaenyra, who's one of the protagonists, the main protagonist of this particular series, is actually Australian.
There you go. What's her name?
Millie Alcock.
Never heard of her.
No, she's like teenager.
I bet you she'd.
Well, maybe she's early 20s now.
I bet you she hasn't been on Dancing with the Stars. So Nadia Bartel says, "Ha,
You're not famous enough."
you're not famous enough. You didn't snort cocaine off a $5 Kmart plate."
So that's, aside from, as I said, footy, which is preoccupied a fair chunk of my time. That's what I'm watching. So I'm not just going to start listing football shows because that's probably the only TV I watch with any
because
sort of regularity.
Let's face it, they're all shit and they're full of drunk, opinionated dickheads.
Yeah, I know. Three separate shows I've watched this week, at least 3 or 4 episodes of every single one. We had tiny little point rage rant here. We had 2 major signings this week, and on all of that, we've probably had maybe about 3 minutes dedicated to our team.
I think you better tell everybody who's we.
The Lions, the Brisbane Lions, a massive diehard fan. So sorry, guys. I will try and not make every podcast that we talk about them, but it's when footy season's on, it's my true passion, and when cricket season's on, that's my true passion. So
See,
not sorry.
You just keep trying to make me fall in love here, but speaking of dickheads, as I was about 3 tangents ago.
Sorry.
That's
a lot
all right.
of tangents.
That's all right. So sometimes I get my coffee at Hungry Jack's
Mm-hmm.
because allegedly they got barista coffee now. And look,
Does it
it's not.
taste any good?
Yeah, look, Hungry Jack's coffee used to be shit. And I'm also not a fan of the Hungry Jack's chips, which everybody else
Oh
in the
no, that
world
is really
seems to love them. But so anyway,
KFC chips
so
are the best.
I have a bit of social anxiety sometimes. I don't like to order at the counter, so I go up and use the touch screens.
That's what the
And
apps are for.
well, I don't want to have a Hungry Jack's app on my phone. So anyway, so when you order on the touch screen, you've got to put your initials in there so they call it out.
Mm.
I always put my initials as DH. And every single time when they come out and they call it out, because I mean, I could put my full name as Phil McCracken or Jack Me Off or something like that. But no, I go with DH. It's classy. It's it's really my name, allegedly. And they come out with my coffee and they go, coffee for DH. And then they giggle and look around. And then I go up, take my coffee, politely say thank you. They always ask me, are your initials really DH? Like they're really curious. And every time, oh, yes, I'm a dickhead. That's me. And they just go white as a ghost because suddenly they know they've been had. But I mean, look, that's boomer level comedy there. So
That's funny.
that's not even champagne comedy. All right. So what I'm watching at the moment,
Yes.
this might surprise you. So I go to the gym pretty much every day.
Yep.
And every TV, and there's probably about 16 TVs in the main part of my gym.
That's a lot of TVs.
Every TV has the TV show Friends on repeat constantly, episode after episode after episode.
It's a good show.
So
and it's
let's just run with that. I've been watching a lot of Friends. Geez, there's a bit going on in that show. Like a lot happens. At the same time as literally nothing is happening. I mean, they say the Seinfeld's is a show about nothing. Well, I mean, Friends is a show about something. I just don't know what. But what especially makes it interesting and weird for me is that there's no sound, obviously, but there's closed captions. The problem is on the TV screen that's directly in front of where I do most of my treadmill action.
Yeah.
I spend probably an hour or 2 hours, whatever, on the treadmill, and the TV directly in front of me. The closed captions have been stuck on the one thing for the last couple of weeks. And the caption is, and I'll send you a photo.
Oh, you have to.
Not the listeners. I'll just send it to you. Is, and those kids went home asking about condoms. I mean, what? Now, I believe the whole population needs condoms to stop breeding a future generation of Friends fans, but
Friends is good.
You went from nodding your head to shaking it right in the one motion there.
I
see,
I know which episode that's from.
So my mate Dick, also known as Richard, agrees with me here. The whole population does need condoms to breed out future politicians and also future lizards.
Oh my God! Some people just.
But yeah, oh geez, Friends. So, who's your favorite character on Friends?
I love Monica. Like, I just love her OCD.
Which one's Monica?
Tendencies. The chef, the brunette.
Oh, Courtney Cox, the one who danced in a Bruce Springsteen video clip years ago.
Yeah, the one with the super OCD tendencies, just because she's hilarious. Like, because she's so, like, everything has to go a certain way.
Sounds a bit like myself.
There's certainly a fair few of her personality traits that I'm like, yeah, that looks familiar. But in terms of who I find the funniest, I think Phoebe, Lisa Kudrow's character.
Yes. So
hilarious.
Like, I couldn't tell you a single line that she said, but she looks funny. And there was the episode on where she went to meet her dad and for the first time when she was an adult, and his dog attacked her and she did something to it.
Hmm.
and this is the closed captions were telling me what they were saying. So, and then she made Joey. That's what's his name?
Matt LeBlanc.
The guy that did Top Gear for a while.
Yeah, Matt LeBlanc.
She made him ring up her dad anonymously and say, "We've got your dog," and
Yep.
something or other. I can't remember.
No, she is a character. She's just so spacing out there.
You know, I'm revealing something about myself that not very many people would even guess. So I've already mentioned I love watching movies. Movies are like one of my favorite things, watching movies.
Yeah.
Like most men my age, I like watching war movies, but I also like watching
one of the few movies subgenres that I actually enjoy. So,
oh man, what are you trying to do to me here? No, you don't need.
I'm like anything World War I, World War II related. Count me in.
Also, my favorite topics to watch, but I also
blame my father for that.
I also so when I was a kid, we had a beta video player, not a VHS.
Gee, oh my gosh.
So
I actually know what that is. Just.
In the 90s, I finally got myself a VHS player.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go to Blockbuster Video because we didn't have one where I lived, but we just had like some dingy little store, and I consumed every single video cassette VHS that they had. And I loved watching this movie, Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion. Lisa Kudrow's in that. And what's her name? Mira Sorvino.
Yes. It's a good movie.
Fuck, she was hot in that movie. But I will never forget that scene where she takes the mechanic inside the office and pretends to have sex with him and calls him a man.
Car.
Yeah, calls him a man stallion. Ramon, you man stallion. Oh, geez, reminiscing. That's probably not that funny.
That is a good movie, though. I like that movie.
It is a really good movie. There's a lot of references in there that you've got to watch it a few times to pick up on as well.
Definitely.
And a pretty good cast. I can't remember the soundtrack. And speaking of soundtracks, and I probably already know what your answer is going to be, but what are you listening to lately?
Oh, okay. So I wasn't sure whether you wanted to go a podcast or a song with this.
It can be anything you want.
So, song-wise, I've had a lot of Pink on rotation recently because I went to a Lady Gaga versus Pink tribute concert on the weekend.
That sounds interesting.
Shout out to my sister's mother-in-law who organised it for us and made me go because I wasn't going to, and it was an absolute blast. So 10 out of 10 would recommend going to those sorts of things because
was that the night you stood me up?
No, it was Saturday night. So
good.
It was. I went to a country footy game in the day, and I wasn't sure whether I'd be up for getting there or not, but I did, so we're fine. And then so Pink has been really heavily on the rotation. Raise Your Glass, probably the most that I've been listening to.
Is she still in Australia at the moment, or has that tour finished?
Left. She was here when Taylor Swift was here.
Yeah, I knew that, but I keep seeing stuff on my Facebook feed about her tour for some strange, obscure reason.
But she was here for ages. It was fantastic. So, love her. I'm assuming you thought that I was listening to One Republic's song from Top Gun. Is that what you were getting at when you said, I think I know what you're listening to?
Oh, I wasn't, but now that you mention it.
Because that's quite heavy in the rotation too. But Pink took the cake this week. So
I thought you would have been listening to the one from the original Top Gun, the Danger Zone.
Danger Zone.
Come on, that's a banger.
That is a banger. But the One Republic song is set to the topless beach scene. So
how sexist is it that
do not admit that? That's terrible.
That they're allowed to have topless men on Top Gun, but no topless women. I mean, come on.
Well,
not that I'd be looking because
thanks the censors.
I'm a gentleman, of course, but
I'm not going to complain.
I would turn away, but I'm also a liar.
I shouldn't. So song-wise, it's Pink,
Yeah.
Raise Your Glass. Podcast-wise, now I've admitted to this to you. I don't listen to a heck of a lot of podcasts. Again, if I'm going to do something for fun that's not footy or cricket related, it's probably going to be like reading a good book instead of that. Read a lot. And obviously, I'm not just going to say, oh, well, We Are the Pride, which is probably the podcast I listen to the most because it's actually about a topic I love.
I've heard of that one. I've heard that it's really good. And
I don't know. There's this chick that keeps going on, and she's absolutely psycho. So
I've heard that one of the hosts is all right, and the other one's me, who's not that good. So anyway,
so yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, that's probably the podcast I listen to the most. But taking that away, the only other podcasts I tend to listen to tend to be quite heavily reality TV based because I like a bit of reality TV trash in my life. So
Don't
out
we
of
all?
those, what I'm probably willing to do is a podcast called Girls Next Level, and it's Holly Madison and Bridget Marquardt, who were two of the girls in Girls Next Door, which was the Girls of the Playboy Mansion reality TV show from the early 2000s. So they were girlfriends of Hugh Hefner.
I was about to say.
Yep. And it's so them basically rewatching episodes and of their time at the Playboy Mansion and sort of giving some behind the scenes stuff about the life and what was scripted, what was not. So theirs was sort of before it really became a lot more heavily scripted reality TV, and before you needed to have a villain in every season. Like, it was a lot more fun and lighthearted, which I think is one of the reasons I liked it. But one of their recent episodes, they had Hugh Hefner's son on there, which was actually really interesting, given that you'd think that the son would have absolutely hated every girlfriend his father ever had because they're not much older than he is. And just sort of discussing how he grew up around it all, which was, really fascinating to watch and listen to.
There you go.
That's on my recent podcast list.
Well, I don't listen to podcasts because they're rubbish. And as we've already established, I'm also a liar. I listen to lots of them. But I also listen to a lot of music. Now, I'm just going to go cough up a lung here, so just bear with us.
You try to die quieter.
Oh.
But yes.
I think I'm choking on part of my dinner that I left half masticated. And that's masticated, not the other word that sounds something similar. Because that would be weird to be doing that with some honey chicken and fried rice.
Oh, yum.
Yeah. So that's all I had.
My sister's fave. Okay.
Home cooked.
So, pretty good. Can't complain.
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of music when I'm at the gym.
Yep.
All my friends know what I listen to and have no idea who half the bands are. Because
very long list and it changes a lot.
Yeah, because I've got a pretty big playlist, but I discovered that Spotify has Smart Shuffle, so it adds a few extra songs and bands in that you've never heard of, and sometimes they're good. But anyway, one of the bands that's on pretty high rotation for me at the moment is an Australian band called Dead Letter Circus. Okay. And they're an alternative rock band, they call themselves. They're from Brisbane. And their first album they brought out in 2010 actually went to number 2 on the Australian album charts, which is pretty big news for A, an Australian band, and B, an Australian band of that sort of style back then. And they had a whole heap of singles that were played all over radio at the time as well, which is not where I came across them. I actually, funnily enough, I was at my local library, and you can borrow CDs. And I was just looking around. I thought, geez, that's got a pretty good cover on it. I'm going to borrow that. This is years ago. I took it home, had a listen, thought, yeah, they're pretty good. Anyway, I've been listening to them ever since. So for people who are into sort of that alternative rock sort of music, they've got elements of Tool, Deftones, Soundgarden, Radiohead. And they also claim influence from Massive Attack and Nine Inch Nails.
Oh,
Yeah.
now them I do know.
So they've got elements of all, vastly different sort of genres within that genre of the alternative, which is, alternative music could be anything.
Yep.
Really good songwriters that, like, every song is an epic. It just, every song builds up to this big epic crescendo. Their singer, whose name escapes me at the moment, has a really, really good voice that suits their style of music. And I find that a lot of their songs are quite motivational to me when I'm feeling down or when I'm working out, or even if I'm just at work sometimes as well.
Okay, that's cool.
So I highly recommend them. And just something I've grabbed from their Wikipedia, that the band say, this is a quote: "While we don't sound like a mashup of any of these bands we list as our influences, they have all definitely infused our minds with a love for writing epic, layered, and high-energy songs." And that epic, layered, and high-energy songs absolutely sums them up. So I highly recommend them if you're into your alternative rock and like to support Australian music, which everybody should be.
Definitely.
Yes. All right. We're going to play a game now.
Ooh.
And I'm the quiz master this time.
Uh-oh. Do I get points for this one?
I'm sure I'll give you something for it if you please me with your answers.
Okay, what's up?
Big shout out to Glenda, who's a listener, even though we haven't put an episode out prior to this.
Yeah.
I paid her $30 to say that she was a listener. And she gave me a list of things, and I'm going to read them all out, and it's going to take about 30 seconds or thereabouts. And you've got to give me a one-word answer for every single thing I read out.
Okay.
And we're going to come up with something totally original and call this word association.
Uh-oh.
So, are you ready?
Maybe. Yes, let's go.
All right,
let's do this.
So I'm going to read it out. You've got to give me a one-word answer, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
All right, so we're kicking off with elbow. Clock's ticking.
Hand. I'm not going to go where I originally thought with that.
Oh,
Did you mean elbow the politician?
Yeah, not the part
That's
of my
what
body.
I thought you said, and I was like, I can't. In polite company, I can't say what I immediately wanted to say.
Oh, well, you can tell me in private.
What's another segment that we're thinking of doing for this show?
We're getting to that.
Yeah, I know. That's what my first immediate thought was.
All right. Let's start again. Let's go back to the beginning because we're idiots. And you just have lost your shit.
I have absolutely lost my shit. Sorry. Pause.
Cut back in here to Anthony Albanese.
Idiot.
Bob Irwin.
Annoying.
Oh, that's not very nice. Pauline.
It's really annoying. You listen to him for any particular period of time?
Pauline Hanson.
Oh.
That'll do. Maths.
Mockable.
I have no idea what that means. KFC. Well, Glenda,
Salty.
what are you thinking?
Salty.
Nickelback.
Old.
The Olympics.
Fun.
Country music.
Guns.
Reality TV.
Trash.
BMW drivers.
Oh, I feel like this is a dig at me. Wankers. I can say that because I am one.
Hey, this has totally come from Glenda, I promise you.
I'll call them wankers because, bearing in mind, everyone here, I am a BMW driver, so I'm having crack as myself as much as anyone else.
Well, that's a whole new side of you I didn't know existed.
Have I not told you the story of how I ended up with my car?
You haven't told me.
I'll tell you offline.
No, you've told me that. You hadn't told me that you're a wanker before, though.
Well, most BMW drivers are wankers.
Oh, aren't we all? Did I just say that out loud? Eminem's new song.
Haven't heard it.
Hey, you're only meant to give a one-word answer here, mate. I make the rules.
Clueless.
That's funnily enough what it's called.
Was it really?
No.
Oh. I was like, holy crap, that was a fluke.
Name a comedian. You can use 2 words here.
Any comedian?
Any comedian.
Matt Rife.
You can just hear the dead silence as I have no idea who that is.
Okay, I'm just trying to think. What comedians do you?
No, that's all right. That's fine because other people will know.
He's younger, but God, some of the stuff he says.
The only
Hilarious.
comedian I know is Frenchie. And
You could say Dave Hughes.
he's
There's
not,
one you should know.
He's not funny.
Technically a comedian. No, Matt Rife. I like Matt Rife.
All right, we'll run with that.
Matt Rife.
Jerry Seinfeld, who's topical at the moment.
I could go topical and say Jewish.
Ooh. Well, it's not racist because... no, let's not go there.
It's a statement. He is Jewish.
We'll be cancelled before we begin.
Do you want? I can change the word. It's fine.
Yeah.
Controversial. Let's go that. That's a little bit more safe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Donald Trump.
Orange.
Good answer. Joe Biden. This is the longest 30 seconds of my life, by the way.
I was like, it's kind of like back to the meme, nurse.
Ben Stokes.
I've already used wanker. I can't use it again. What do they call them in England? Toff.
No, they call wankers in England.
Yeah, but I've already used wanker, so I can't use wanker again, can I?
Hey, Ben Stokes is from my family's hometown in Christchurch.
I know, but he's still an absolute toff. I'm pretty sure that's some sort of English insult. So
talk about irony. He was named New Zealand Sports Star of the Year the same year that he buried New Zealand in the Cricket World Cup final, playing for England.
I found it really funny when he, at the most recent England New Zealand test match, and his parents were there. And they're like, oh, well, we want New Zealand to win, but we don't want Ben to lose. So we're going for Ben, but we're going for New Zealand. It's so funny.
Kiwis are cool. Everybody knows it. They're cooler than Aussies. Well, okay, they're not cooler than Aussies, but they're cooler than someone.
Them Poms? That's not hard.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not that hard. The combination of long shorts and high socks.
Oh, terrible.
I feel attacked here.
It's no. Just
Nah.
no.
I put my socks up at the gym because I don't have very sexy legs.
Their pants.
And there's 2 questions to finish this off, and you have to give a one-word answer. Palmer or Palmy?
Army.
You're wrong. Midi or pot?
Pot.
You're right. All right. That's 30 seconds of people's lives that went for 7.5 minutes.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
There was a couple of ones there where I was like, oh, can't say what I really want to say because it's not appropriate for...
You can. It's not like we're broadcasting into primary schools or anything like that.
Well, as I said, there's a couple of them where my first thought was what another segment of this show will be called. So...
Well, speaking of that segment, it's now time for the Friday Fuckwit.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'll chuck a musical sting in for that. So, although I might just use what you just did every week.
Get the Channel 7 in there. Have a drink.
He's a sicker kid's gotta be dicker.
All right, who you got?
So my Friday Fuckwit is not an individual or it might be an individual, I'm not entirely sure. But mine is going to be whichever brain dead idiot in Queensland, because I am based in Queensland here in Australia, allowed electricity companies to increase electricity prices this week on the 1st of July. So we are in a cost of living crisis here.
We are.
And they announced in both our state and federal budget that they're going to give rebates to help reduce the cost of electricity. And some brain dead idiot in the government has allowed, so all of our electricity companies up here are all run by the government or very heavily legislated by the government, have allowed our electricity prices to go up. So that rebate that we're getting, we're not going to see a cent, but it'll go all entirely to the electricity companies. I can say that because my electricity price has increased 19% since 1 July last year. So whichever fuckwit, and they are, has decided that that should be allowed, when instead of maybe giving us rebates, maybe deal with the actual initial cost of electricity, which you guys legislate and control, fix it from the source problem, because we're not seeing a cent of it.
It's clearly not your premier, because doesn't he support the Brisbane Lions? Which makes
No,
him
no, he
bloke?
does. He is. And sorry, 2-second time out there, like, because obviously I love our boys and I love all of our boys equally, and it doesn't matter where they're coming from. But as the premier of the state, wouldn't you at least wear a Queenslander's number when you're dressing up as a Brisbane Lions player? Like, one of our captains is a Queensland boy born and bred. He's come up through the Queensland academies, through the Brisbane Lions Academy. Literally could have done that. No, instead he picked someone that was born in New South Wales, played in Victoria, and has only just moved up to Queensland. That shows you how much of a fan he is of the Lions. Doesn't know jack shit about the boys.
What's his name?
Stephen Miles, or Smiles as everyone calls him.
Stephen Miles. You
Yeah.
are a fuckwit.
He is a fuckwit.
So
It's just, don't ever listen. I will save you so much time. Don't ever listen to one of his press conferences. He is an absolute idiot.
I have an interesting relationship with Queensland politics. I was actually banned from entering Queensland by the Queensland government in
Was this during COVID?
in 2013.
Why?
Maybe it was 2012, because I made a meme about their premier that went viral. It may or may not have referred to him as a Nazi. Campbell Newman, you're also a fuckwit. And
You have to say, oh, what?
I then got a phone call from someone in the office of one of the Queensland politicians, advising me that if I step foot in Queensland, I'll be arrested.
Okay,
Now-
when we get off air, you are telling me that full story.
No, that's the full story. That's it.
No. I want to know which politician it was, like whose office it was. Like, I want the full story.
Oh no, I couldn't even tell you, but I can tell you.
You're not fair.
I can tell you the name of the person who rang me. His first name was Jared, and he had a very, very feminine sounding voice, which, as you know, I do not. And we sounded very different to each other on the phone. But
Do you know what initial his last name started with? Just out of curiosity.
not off the top of my head. It doesn't really matter, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't work for the government anymore, because Campbell Newman got the ass. Anyway, so the statute of limitations, I'm sure, has passed, because
That
Right.
bit better not go to air.
as
by the
we
way.
as we go to air right now, I am a couple of days away from a trip to Queensland.
Yay!
So,
Hopefully Charlie kicks a bag for you this weekend.
I would love to hear Country Roads numerous times. Look, I'm not so big on Sweet Caroline. I'm not a Neil Diamond fan.
Do you know my first ever concert was Neil Diamond?
Did you know that my dad had an 8-track player in one of his cars when I was a child?
Mhm.
And he put Neil Diamond's Hot August Night album 8-track number 1 out of 4 into the 8-track player, and he could not pull it out. So I had to listen to many years of my childhood, 4 of Neil Diamond's songs. And for that, my dad, you are a fuckwit, but not the Friday fuckwit. No, I love my dad.
Okay.
I love my dad. He's a great man.
2-second time out. So I wasn't kidding. It was my first ever concert. I was like 5 or 6 years old. Like I was a little baby. But do you know he's a Brisbane Lions supporter?
I'm sure he is.
No, dead set. So when like his old missus, they're not together anymore, was like a diehard. Who he met on tour when he was over here, like in the mid-90s, and she made him watch every game. Like he is genuinely a Brisbane Lions fan, and like to the point where like in the late 2000s, like they, like all the Brisbane Lions players were allowed to go to his concert for free.
Jeez, it's not like they couldn't afford the tickets. Let's face it.
I know, but like, come on, you got to like him then.
Well, so my dad also made me watch a movie on our beta player, not VHS, called The Jazz Singer, which was a movie about Neil Diamond. I'm pretty sure
I've seen that. It's a really good movie.
I'm pretty sure Neil started as himself, but there's one problem with that.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to put that on TV now because Neil Diamond blackfaced in it.
he did.
Which wasn't really that upsetting to people back then, but imagine if they put that on TV now.
Oh god, it would never. You have to find it somewhere that it's streaming or on video.
So anyway, I've got a Friday fuckwit, and it's not my dad because my dad is a wonderful man who raised me, and he's actually currently in hospital ill. So I should not be speaking ill of him, or he'll strike me down.
All our thoughts and love to him, and hoping that he gets better.
He is getting better, which is a good thing, and it's the best thing. And my Friday, oh, you're dying.
Now I'm dying. Sorry, I came out of nowhere.
Whatever I had, I've just given it to you.
From 2 states away. I love it.
Okay. Yeah, electronic contact. Interesting. So my Friday fuckwit, it just happens to be my conspiracy theorist mate, Richard, aka Dick Head. He took a cultural holiday from his workplace the day after Julian Assange was released from prison, or from wherever it was that he was being held.
He took a what from his workplace?
Cultural holiday.
What on earth is that?
Because he needed to celebrate the downfall of every government of the planet from that moment onwards. It was a national day of celebration for him because Julian Assange was free to bring down all the governments of the world, and he needed to have a cultural holiday from work. And what's even more fuckwittery, if that's such a word, is that his workplace granted him that cultural holiday.
Well,
So-
is that like annual leave?
No, they gave it as, like, for example, if you're Jewish, you could have Yom Kippur, or if you're Muslim, you could have Eid, or if you're a Kiwi, you could have the National Day of Shearing your girlfriend.
Is this like a Victorian specific thing? Like, is this a public sector thing?
No, this is this guy's workplace. He went to his boss and said, "Boss, Julian Assange is free. I need a cultural holiday tomorrow to celebrate this fact and celebrate also the other fact that every government of the world is about to be destroyed by this man. And this is not a conspiracy theory. I need the day off as a cultural holiday," and it was granted.
Okay. We'll talk about him in a minute, but I'm still stuck on the cultural holiday thing. Is that a thing?
Well, you know, it's funny because I live in Geelong, which is not part of Melbourne for the Queenslanders who think Melbourne is the whole entire state of Victoria. Dickheads.
Oh, hey, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, but you're really a Victorian. So anyway.
I'm a country Victorian girl too. Like I'm
So in Geelong, they have the Geelong Cup a few weeks before the Melbourne Cup. Now,
Horse racing got ya.
People in Geelong generally get to have the public holiday for the Geelong Cup.
Hmm.
And people in Melbourne get to have a public holiday for the Melbourne Cup.
Yep, that makes sense.
And I'm going to bring up some other public holidays in a minute. But anyway, that's another thing. So my workplace, of course, did not have, because I was working in Melbourne, did not have the Geelong Cup as a public holiday.
Hmm.
So I actually requested it as a Dick's favourite thing, a cultural holiday, and was not granted. Now, my kids had the day off school, and I couldn't have the day off to spend time with them. So my former employer, you are a fuckwit. So on the subject of public holidays, I mean, a cultural holiday to celebrate the downfall of every government on the planet because Julian Assange was released. Why can't old mate Dick just take real public holidays and real cultural holidays like the pretend birthday of the king in June? Or, I mean, like a day off before a game of football, or a day off for a horse race, or a
Day off for a show.
well, said Victoria doesn't have show day. They now have the grand final public holiday.
Oh,
the
so
day before.
you guys don't get a Royal Melbourne
It's
show
the same.
holiday?
It's the same public holiday. It's just called something else now.
So we have, in Brisbane specifically, it's Ekka Wednesday. So the Ekka is our version of the Royal Melbourne show.
So every man called Eric takes a day off work for that, obviously.
Yeah, so it's always Wednesday. So a lot of people tend to take the Monday, Tuesday, or the Thursday, Friday off and just have super long weekends, which is genius.
Such an Australian thing to do.
But every individual council, so Ekka Wednesday is the Brisbane City Council, so Brisbane, then Redlands, which is the next one over, which is kind of the equivalent of the Hume City Council, or Hume Shire Council, I should say, has their own holiday that I think is a Monday, and then Ipswich has its own, which is so they're all sort of spread out throughout either that week or other weeks of the year. So it's not a Queensland-wide one, kind of like you guys, but nowhere up here is cool enough to have.
Us guys aren't in
holiday.
Queensland, so it's not really like us guys.
I mean, as in Victorians, because you were just talking about Melbourne Cup versus Geelong Cup holidays.
I'm only shitting you. If
but,
only people could have seen that face you just pulled.
but dead set, we don't have any sort of sports-based holidays. There's one now on the Monday after the grand final weekend for the AFL and the NRL, because most people take it off because the NRL grand final's on a Sunday up here. But that's actually officially the King's birthday holiday. So it's not in June here. It's now in October.
Don't you have a public holiday in May to celebrate communism?
May Day. Well, it's officially Labor Day, but everyone calls it May Day. And there was this whole thing for a couple of years where they tried to move that to the October public holiday. So Labor Day was in October, to spread them out a bit. So it wasn't right by Anzac Day and Easter. And so for 1 year we had the King's birthday still in June, the May Day public holiday in May with the other public holidays, and then we had the extra one in October for the year that it moved. And then the other mob, politician-wise, got back in and they're oh, no, we're not happy. So one mob changed it. Then the other mobs came back in and they're no, it's very traditionally Labor Day and it needs to be on the first Monday in May because that's when someone sat at the Regatta Hotel and demanded equal rights for something. Oh, I think that's the story. Don't quote me on that. So we had another year.
Well, 2 second time out. What they really did at, what was it called? The Regatta Hotel?
Yeah.
They sat there and sunk some piss, let's face it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But anyway, back to the story. So then we had another year where we had the public holiday in May, and then we had the public holiday in October and the public holiday in June when it was switching back to May, and then June went to October. So for 2 sets of years, we had an extra public holiday whilst they tried to change the public holidays around. Just so that nobody got upset that, oh, well, you'd made plans that Labor Day was the first weekend of May, so we're not going to take that off you whilst we change it. And then, it was such a thing.
That sounds fascinating.
Because politicians were politicianing.
Yeah, it's totally stimulating right now hearing that.
Sorry. It was just the funniest thing. So stupid.
Totally makes me want to have an extra day off in May.
It's stupid to have them all together, but that's
In
my
Victoria,
personal
they do it
opinion.
in March and call it Labor Day. And ironically, no one goes to work on Labor Day, which is an oxymoron in itself.
We always have protests on Labor Day
Hmm.
here, and I'm just like,
Oh, in Melbourne, they have
are you
protests every day.
protesting having a public. I get so confused.
Actually, speaking of Friday fuckwits, so all these rich families who send their kids to live in Hawthorne in flats or units or whatever you want to call them, whichever part of the world you live in, paying their skyrocketing rent and paying their tuition fees to go to big universities or private schools. Let me give you the tip, mummy and daddy. Your little darling is actually growing dreadlocks,
Mhm.
skipping school, and in true Victorian fashion, after smoking a few cones and whatever else, heading down to Parliament House in Victoria on the daily to protest about, well, they don't even know. They're just there to protest because every fucking day in Victoria, there's a protest in one of the main streets of the CBD.
How do you guys get anything done?
I don't know. Well, these are all our students who are getting paid their tuition by their mummies and daddies with lots of money. And yeah, anyway, it makes the lives of many Victorians difficult who want to go to work, and you have to put up with these dreadlocked Triple J listeners. And what the fuck has happened to Triple J lately? I used to love listening to Triple J back in the 90s when they played alternative music. And then it got to a point where around about 2010, either side of that, all they played was Florence and the Machine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yep.
And now they're just playing the same shit that all the other mainstream stations play.
Or did you see the hottest 100? I think Taylor Swift was on there this year, and I'm like, that completely defeats the purpose of having the hottest 100. Like, you've got mainstream artists on there now. Like,
Every year I vote for Amel and the Sniffers, a local band from Victoria, I'm going to say.
I stopped voting for that when they moved it from Australia Day. So I was like, well, I can't listen to it because I've actually got this thing called work. So
I don't listen to it, but I always vote just so that I can go on Instagram and post up my votes and tag all the 10 bands that I voted for.
Oh, I like that. That's nice.
And then watch to see if they share my story onto their story and brag to my friends about it.
Fair enough. It's a pretty good thing to brag about.
Yeah, Bad Dreams did it one year, and Ocean Grove, another band that no one has probably heard of, but they're kind of good. They did it one year
Shout
too.
out.
Yeah. All right. Well, if anyone's still listening, and you're probably not, but if you are, we're about to wind up. But what are you doing this weekend?
Well, so there's
See,
this football game, and there's this weird stranger from interstate who's coming up that I plan to catch up with.
seeing anyone interesting?
As I said, just this weird stranger. No one important.
Well,
For those who are listening and who haven't figured it out, it's Ash.
it is I. So
Who's coming up?
I'm hopping on a plane. I'm glad you said up and not down, because you live in an upward direction from where I live.
You do realize I come from Victoria, right? This is up for me.
Oh, I've still got it. So yeah, I'm hopping on a plane heading up to Queensland to watch a game of football, and then I'm going to a pub called the Pineapple.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a pub?
Yeah.
It better be.
About a block and a half from the Gabba.
Yeah, and I'm going there to eat a parma.
Palmy here.
Oh, as I always say, do people walk up and say, I'm having a chicken parmigiana or a chicken parmigiana or a chicken in pajamas?
I just say chicken palmy here.
Mm.
No one calls it Parmigiana.
I'm not even going to eat one of them. I'll probably have a steak or something anyway because I'm a real man.
Yep.
Need my
That's okay.
protein.
I still call them potato cakes.
Yeah, well, they're not potato fritters, South Australians. So
They're not potato scallops.
yeah, scallops are these things you get from a shellfish in the ocean, and I'm going to die on that hill.
See, I haven't gone completely feral.
Well, nah, you're right.
He's like, crap, I don't know what to do with that.
No, I was going to make a joke, but I wouldn't do that.
But aside from that, I've got a convention to go to, which should be good fun.
That sounds interesting.
I won't admit what I'm going to the convention for. Certainly not on air.
It's a Star Trek convention, isn't it?
No.
You're
No.
putting on your Dr. Spock ears and
No, if I was going to go to a convention, it'd be for Star Wars, not Star Trek. I wouldn't call myself a Trekkie.
oh man,
I'm definitely not.
why
not
do
into it
you
enough.
keep pushing my buttons?
Oh, I'm a Star Wars girl.
Yeah, I am Star Wars over Star Trek every day of the week.
Every single day and then some.
I've been to a wedding though where it was a Trekkie themed wedding,
Oh wow.
and I wore a Chewbacca mask. But anyway, the
I love that.
bride and groom did their vows in Klingon.
That's dedication.
Um,
And at least, like, the one thing that Star Trek does have over Star Wars is was a very, very easily identifiable language that was learnable as a fan. Whereas
yeah, because they all spoke English.
Star Wars, there was just too many, and a lot of the alien languages are, roaring at each other or beeps and whistles, which don't really make communication easy.
That's all right. All right. Well, I guess that'll do us for that. And
Lovely end.
the ending's going to take a bit of editing, I think.
I think so.
All right. Well, if you're still listening and you got this far and you like what you heard, we'll be back. Hopefully, bigger and better.
Yeah.
Definitely better. Yeah.
Let us know if you have anything that you think we should chat about.
Yep.
Any segments we should add, any segments we should get rid of. They're not interesting at all.
And if you've got a list of words that you need to be given some association, send them in. If you have some,
Let's try and avoid politicians.
If
Shall
you-
we, for those?
if you have some conspiracies that we don't know about, which is probably all of them because we're not crazy,
Yep.
we're just a little unwell. There's a pop culture reference for you.
Mm-hmm. That is a very
If anybody has listened this far and wants to tell me where I got that from, I'll give you a prize.
high five.
Nah, look, I'll probably give you $20 and an icy cold can of Coke.
Oh, how lovely. But
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for listening this far. And if we're not back next week, it means nobody listened.
hopefully someone does.
Yeah. And as I said, this is a pilot episode to see how things go. And we'll probably do a couple more and see how that pans out. And we'll get better at doing this. And that's it. That's enough from me. You've heard more than enough